Better, much better.
Yeah, well, that's.
Hello, everyone. We're so glad that you're with us here today. This is Sunday, April 6th. Whoops, April 18th, 2021. Okay, my first mess up on our episode. We will be starting in just a moment, so stay with us, and Jimmy will give me the cue when we officially start. Thank you. Chutaro. She is here in the studio with us, supporting her husband, Alan.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to let you know she's in the background. Occasionally, she'll probably make comments. I hope everyone is having a great weekend. I know that we had this glorious warm weather earlier in the week, and yesterday it just turned. Right now, it's chilly, but I hope you're all warm and cozy in your houses and that you'll enjoy the time that we have today. April, right? Hello, how are you today? I'm Misha Sauceda Halliday, and we're here on CBI TV, April 18th, 2021. Today, we are talking to Alan Chutaro. He purchased for Congregation Bnai Israel a wonderful star, and the name of the star is Congregation Bnai Israel. I'm going to let him finish.
100 years.
100 years. We're very, very excited to have him here. You're going to see the star that he purchased. You're going to hear about the constellation that he chose and why he chose it. But first, I'm going to ask Alan a couple of questions about who he is and part of his life. So Alan, tell me about you. Where were you born? How long ago?
Well, I was born in Buffalo, New York, in the midst of the Depression, 1936. Before I remember anything in my life, we'd already moved to Syracuse, New York, and then Auburn, New York. My dad was fortunate enough to have a job the entire time in the Depression.
Wow.
But to keep a job, that's why we had to move. And we were the first of the Chodrow-Posner family to not live in, well, after we got to the United States, to not live in Buffalo or Brooklyn.
Tell me, where was the origin of the Chodrow family?
There was a town in Poland called Chodorów. It happened to be one of the cities in which there were no survivors from the Holocaust, and you'll find it at the Holocaust Museum in Israel. There's a place along the side with trees that represent all of the communities that had no survivors. We don't remember. We can't trace our family all the way back to Chodorów, and our family that we know of came from Katrinoslav, which now is Dnipropetrovsk in the Ukraine.
Now, I know that you went into the Navy. Tell me a little bit about that.
Mhm.
And when did you leave the Navy and at one position?
Okay, well, I grew up in the years when there was a draft. I thought maybe I would join the Navy to stay out of the Army. This kids in their senior year of high school won't be able to believe, but I applied to only 3 schools.
Oh my goodness.
And there were no papers to write. And I applied to MIT and RPI, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, that's near Albany, New York, and the Naval Academy. When you apply to the Naval Academy, you need someone to nominate you, a congressman. Well, a congressman happened to be our landlord.
So he nominated you.
But he had already nominated someone who was a principal appointee, and I was the alternate. And the principal nominee was the son of our insurance agent. Auburn was a small town.
I'm starting to see that.
I always say well, first of all, Oliver Goldsmith wrote a poem about Auburn's sweetest village in the plain. And that's where Auburn, Alabama, and Auburn, Massachusetts, and Auburn, Maine, and all these other places, that's how they got their name from that. But I always say it's a town of 36,000 people and 100,000 cows. A big milk producing area.
Tell me, when did you come to Albuquerque?
Well, first I need to tell you about the famous things of Auburn, New York. The first one is that Lincoln's Secretary of State was from Auburn, New York.
Okay.
And, about who was it? Whose folly was it? Seward's folly when he bought Alaska. Seward was from from Albuquerque, from Auburn, New York. There was also a very famous Indian named Logan, who is buried in Auburn. Logan's was someone who tried to make peace between the Indians and the settlers, and very unsuccessfully. And his whole family was killed in a fight between the two. And Longfellow wrote a poem about him, and it was "Who is there to mourn for Logan?" Because the Indians were never happy that he tried to get along, and then the whites came along and killed his family.
That's a
So
sad
Who
story.
is there to mourn for Logan? It's also famous for the first criminal electrocution in the world.
Thank you for sharing that.
And this is the most important. The Auburn Community College claims to be the original, the origin of streaking.
So, dear audience, I just want you to know you have heard it here in the CBI TV sanctuary. But let's continue on.
Okay, so I then went to school. I was gonna. I didn't get the primary appointment, and Billy Young did go to the Naval Academy, so that being the secondary didn't help. But if there's one thing I do well in life, it's be a student. And I did well on the test, and not all the seats that are available to go to the Naval Academy are filled by their congressmen and the other people who can do that. And so I was brought in and got to go to the Naval Academy in 1954.
That is so exciting. When did you retire from the Navy?
Well, I'm a retired commander, Navy commander, and it's after like 25 years, but that's more Navy than I really did. I was when I graduated in 1958. I wanted to be fly one of these 1,500-mile-an-hour airplanes, but my aviation trainer said, if I were you, I'd find another job. So I went on an experimental anti-submarine warfare destroyer, and I was on there for a couple of years. And most of the time we were working against submarines left over from World War II. And then near the end of my time on the destroyer, we had a 20th century submarine come by. And after doing exercises with them, I decided if I wanted to be on a fight, if I was going to be on a fight between an airplane, between a surface ship and a submarine, I wanted to be on the submarine. So I went on the submarine. I went to submarine school, and then I happened to be the first submarine school class where you could go to the nuclear power program without going on a conventional submarine. So I signed up for that and spent a year training, and then was assigned new construction to the USS Hermit, which was the second ship of the Thresher class. And now it's called the Permit class, since the Thresher sank a long time ago during some exercises.
So I'm going to interrupt here. And you talked about being underwater, but what I thought we'd do is we'd change to the sky, a little bit of a leap. And I wanted to talk about the star that you purchased.
Okay.
So let me ask, why did you want to do this?
Well, Now there is a star in the sky. It's called the Congregation Bnai Israel 100 years. It was arranged through something called the International Star Registry, and that's a private company. It is not an official thing that names stars. But the fact that we have this star named Congregation Bnai Israel is recorded in a book in Switzerland somewhere, and it's also in the U.S. Copyright Office. And there probably is other people who name stars besides the International Star Registry. But I don't think there's any American ones other than that. But there's probably someone in Russia and China and France and that
Places
also
like that.
name stars.
Now, you bought your star specifically, you wanted a certain place in the heavens. Where did you want it?
Well, I've been fascinated with stars since I was very young. And when I grew up in Auburn, it was a great place to observe the stars. We lived the second house away from the end of the developments, and there were really no streetlights there because it was the time when every kid had a BB gun and shot out the streets at the place. So we got beautiful pictures of the sky, and you could see the Milky Way. You saw it,
Oh my goodness.
especially beautiful views of the Milky Way, and we were far enough north that occasionally we could even see the northern lights. Yeah. And so I fell in love with looking at the stars. And then as I went through life, I kept finding out fascinating things about stars that really got to my head. And the first one was that our sun is actually a star. And if we were on one of those other stars and looking at the Earth, at our sun, it would look just like all the other stars up there in the sky. And that was pretty fascinating. And
then you specifically chose
Right.
one constellation.
yeah,
What was that
well,
constellation?
I'd learned a little bit about constellations, and I chose the Orion constellation, and it's almost everybody's favorite constellation. And that's because of a couple things. There's three stars in a row, and it's only one place in the entire universe when you look in the sky. You don't see it anywhere else, and it's the belt of Orion's dress. And it's also got two very, very bright stars, two of the brightest stars in the sky, one of them being Rigel, which is Orion's right foot, and the other one being, I don't know even now how to say it, but it looks like Betelgeuse, and it's his left shoulder. And it's because it's so easy to find that everyone loves it.
So right now, I'm going to break away. I think it's really important to see or hear exactly what is this story of Orion. I've asked Richard Hartnett, who is an author specializing in mythology. He's going to tell us the story of Orion and some of the pieces that go to it. Just a note, Richard is very well known. He has written 2 books on mythology, specifically Greek, but Greek and Roman often mesh together. So I'm going to let Richard tell the story, and we will meet you back here over by the maps so that you can see the star that Alan bought. We'll see you in a minute. Rick.
Most of us know that there is a constellation in the nighttime sky called Orion, but I think very few of us know how it actually got its name. The name Orion comes from Greek mythology, and like many characters in Greek mythology, he was the son of a god, Poseidon, and a mortal woman by the name of Eurydice, who is the daughter of the king of Crete. Now this means that Orion was a hero, much like Hercules or Theseus. Orion was a great hunter. He loved to hunt. And because of that, he drew the attention of Artemis, the queen of the hunt. In Roman mythology, Artemis was known as Diana. Now usually Artemis was not interested in men at all, but because he was a successful hunter, she loved him. Because Orion was Poseidon's son, he was able to walk on water. And because of this, he was able to be very successful as a hunter. In fact, he became so successful that many animals became endangered. Now that drew the attention of Gaia, the goddess of the earth. And so what Gaia did is she sent a great giant scorpion after Orion to kill him. And unfortunately for Orion, he was killed by the scorpion. And after that, his father Poseidon went to Zeus and said, "To honor my son, please place him in the heavens." And Zeus did that. He placed him in the heavens as a constellation. And he also placed with him Sirius, a dog that was a gift to him from Artemis. And that's his story. And that's where he is till this day, roaming the heavens. But he can never stop roaming because the other constellation that's in the heavens is the Scorpio. So, just because we can doesn't always mean that we should. Hope you enjoyed this. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. That was very enlightening. And we're going to see some similar items and see where is Orion and all of the.
I enjoyed it so much.
That was Jimmy's fault. I do want to show you, excuse me. This is a picture of Orion. I found it online, and it's just pictures, a little drawing of Orion. So here he is right here, as you can tell. There are his three, well, it looks like three there. There are the three stars
In his belt, yeah.
in his belt. And over here is Scorpio, who was also thrown into the sky to keep Orion in check. Now, Alan has told me that when you see Orion, you do not see Scorpio in the sky, which I think is fascinating.
Okay, we're going to look at another, well, first let me let Misha read something here.
A little fight over a piece of paper there. This is the verification or the award that Alan got from the International Star Registry. The font is so difficult to read that I thought I would point it out to you. In here it says, "In witness thereof, we hereunto set our hands and affix the seal of the International Star Registry the 12th day of November 2020, and then it's signed by the Secretary and Registrar. Over here it says, "Know ye herewith that the International Star Registry doth hereby redesignate star number Orion RA5H5LM3SD 2 degrees and 48 minutes to the name Congregation Bnai Israel 100 years. Know ye further that this star will henceforth be known by this name. This name is permanently filed in the Registry vault in Switzerland and recorded in a book which will be registered in the Copyright Office of the United States of America. So this came with the star and also this map. So Alan's going to talk to us about the map so that you can see it. If you can, I'm not sure you can tell, but I'm going to let Alan take over here, kind of show us some of the items.
Oh, yeah, okay. This is the body of Orion right here. These are the 3 stars that make it so obvious to find. And as I said, there were two very bright stars in Orion, and this is Rigel, and this is Betelgeuse, or whatever the real name is. Now, we mentioned the name of Sirius before, and this star is Sirius, and it is the brightest star in the sky. Now, if you look at the, oh, I guess you can't see me. Can you see me? Can you see me when I'm like this?
Jimmy's going to change the camera view, so there he goes.
Okay. This is, in this hand, this is the traditional picture of him. In this hand, he is holding his sword, and in this hand, he is holding a club, and that is him as a hunter. He's also known as a great warrior, and also known as a great bowman. And when I was very young, they had a different representation of it, and it was this, shooting an arrow, and it shot right along this line here, and if you follow this line over here, you get out to this, which is my second favorite constellation. It's the 7 Sisters of Pleiades.
So let me go back to this just for a moment. So in here, this is where he has the club.
This is his club, yes.
And this is when he has the sword. Here's the arm, here's the sword.
Right.
But in the older version, this, show me where the bow
This
is.
was the bow,
Okay.
and this was the arrow here.
So he was off shooting girls way back, huh?
Yeah. By the way, if you look at the 7 Sisters of Pleiades, that one, you only see 6 stars.
And what happened? And what happened with the 7th sister, or with the 7th
The
Pleiades?
7th sister was embarrassed because she married a mortal, and so she does not show up in the constellation. If you're looking at it with your naked eye.
Huh.
But if you look at this thing with a heavy microscope, heavy telescope, you'll see many stars. There are 9 kind of bright ones, and then hundreds of others.
So what is this star right here? Do you know?
That's not part of the constellation.
It's just a
It just
star
happens to be in there. And this right here in the circle is Congregation Bnai Israel 100 years.
So there we are, right next
there.
to Orion.
Yes.
Now, this is really interesting. As I know it, and you've told me, Orion was put up in the sky and he had his dogs with him.
Yeah. In the other picture, you saw Scorpio next to Orion, but Scorpio is not next to Orion. Behind him is, I think it's called Canis Major and Canis Minor or something, and it says hunting dogs.
Boy, is that
Yeah,
interesting. Very
Now,
interesting. Go
one
ahead.
other thing I got to point out is a star right there, which is named Diane Chodorow.
So now you know that Diane Chodorow also has a star named after her, which I think is very fascinating. I'm not sure, did Richard in his story talk about the fact that in the Roman story, the Roman version of the story, instead of Artemis, who is the huntress, that Orion becomes infatuated with, she becomes infatuated with him. The huntress is named Diana. So I thought it was very fascinating that your wife is also named Diana. What an interesting coincidence. So what I'd like to do is open the floor to questions and see if you'd like to answer some of the questions from our audience. Okay. It would be great if some of you would unmute yourselves and let Jimmy know that you would like to ask a question. Please feel free. We look forward to hearing from you. We're all looking at Jimmy.
Well, if there are no questions, I'd like to say a little bit about why I'm fascinated by stars.
Okay, hold on, let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got to go for Alan to talk. Is that what I saw, Jimmy? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I've been fascinated in stars since I was very young. And then, of course, as time went on, I got things happened that I found fascinating, exciting, and I'd like to just mention a couple of them. The very first thing is when I found out that our sun was a star. And if we were on one of those other stars and looked at our sun, it'd look just like all the other stars we see in the heaven.
Just a little little pinprick.
Yeah, a little small, because there's many stars that are thousands of times bigger than our star. And when I was in a very young, maybe second or third grade, I had a teacher who was also interested in the heavens and so what's going on. And we would go out we went out in the playground, and she said to this person, "You're the sun, you stand there." And then she would say, "You're the earth, you go around the sun." And then someone else would be designated as the moon. And the moon was going around the earth as the earth was going around the sun. And then she'd say, "There's some other planets, some of them are closer to the sun," and someone would go out and be a planet closer to the sun. And then some are farther, and someone would go out and be way out, far from the sun. And we had all these people walking around and seeing what our solar system looked like. And the next really fascinating thing that happened to me happened in Hebrew school.
Tell me about that.
When I found out that God made the heaven and the earth, the heavens and the earth. And as I thought about it, I thought about the sky being forever, and God was forever. And then a universe was boundless, and God was boundless. And in my mind, I had this idea that when you're looking at the heavens, you're looking at God. And so not only are we in the heavens forever, but we're somewhere close to God. So, It felt very important to do this at our 100th anniversary.
That is such a touching story. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us and for listening to Alan Chodorow tell parts of his life, what he's done about our star. Alan, I'm going to do something really scary here, folks. Thank you so much. Oh, wow.
Hugs and kisses are so rare that I take
Clearly,
every advantage.
Clearly, he's had both of his shots, and I've had them too. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk to you soon. CBI TV will be joining you once again. Please make sure that you are here for our pledge drive on June 6th, 18. Try that again, 2021, where we're going to be raising money for more of these kinds of programs, which I'm sure you will find fascinating. With that, we're going to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
And thanks for joining us.